Greetings designers! Today we're going to learn how to create vector sail icons. As you can see here, we have many to go through, and also I'm going to be providing a free download of this pack, the original source file .af design, so you can have it for your own use, completely free, do whatever you want with them. The link's in the description. Let's get started. Okay, so to kickstart this tutorial, I'm going to show you my document setup so you can follow along with me. So my dimensions are 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels. I've got 72 dpi, as this one is going to be just for internet usage. Maybe you can stick it on a website or on social media. And I'm just going to go ahead and make sure it's set to photo, just so it doesn't get too confusing, and color RGB. That's best for internet, online, not print. Okay. So as you can see here, we have a discount icon. And we're going to learn how to create this today. As you can see, it's kind of like a bottle cap shape, and it has a stroke, a line with a dash in it. It's got the sail word on it and a little ribbon down here, and it's got this drop shadow thing going on. If you look here on the right hand side, it's quite important if you're going to be making lots of designs to keep your color consistency. So I've just drawn a few circles with the ellipse tool over here, and I've just chosen colors or fills to go inside of them so that I can keep the same colors across all of my icon designs. Okay, let's recreate this. Let's draw our first shape. So head on over to the left here and choose Star Tool. If the Star Tool isn't already selected, long press and find the Star Tool here amongst all the other shapes. Head on over to the center of the document. You can see here when I'm hovering around the center that the vertical and horizontal lines are lining up when I'm dead in the center. Now, if that isn't happening with yours, head on over to this snapping toggle here. It's a magnet icon, and click here and you can see the settings, all kinds of settings, and choose whatever's best for you. You can copy mine for now if you wish. Back to the center, we have our star tool, star shape. Click and drag out. Let's press our finger on Command and Shift, and we can drag out and keep the proportion. Otherwise, this. So let's drag it out to about here, and let's choose a color for this shape. So remember, we have our color scheme over here, so I'm going to click on the dropper tool, and head on over, and I'm going to choose the first red one there. As you can see, this color circle has changed. This is what we've just selected. Just click on that and there's your color. We head on over to stroke, nothing is selected, that's good. Okay, so we have a basic star shape here, and you can see these nodes here that you can drag in and out to change the shape. But we want more edges, more points to this, so we can recreate the look of the bottle cap. So head on over to points, and you can see here there's a slider where we can choose how many points we want. I'm going to select 26 for now. Head on back to these nodes. As you can see, each node performs, will make the shape change in a different way. So if we click on this one, you can see it makes these pointy bits a little bit shorter. That's what we're going to use. Okay, that looks great to me. I'm going to let go. Now we want to get these edges rounded off like our original one. Head on over to the corner tool, click on that, and we're going to select all the nodes in this shape. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to show you this. So now they're all selected. I'll just select one node and I will click and drag, and it will see it's smoothing off all of these pointy edges. So let's zoom out to see what we've created. I'll head on back to the move tool, and now you can see we don't have a pointy sharp object anymore. We have a nice bottle cap looking shape that we were wanting to do to recreate that design. Okay, quick tip here. When using the corner tool on an object, like so, when you go to rescale this object, you'll find that the corners don't stay the same and it will end up like a circle. To fix this problem, head to the corner tool, and once you have made your changes, you'll see an option up here called Bake Corners. If you select that, it will turn your corners where you've used the corner tool have now been turned into curves. Heading back to the Move tool, if we go to Rescale now, our object stays in proportion with the same curvature on the corners. The next thing we want to do is create this stroke with the dashes on it. So I'm going to head to the Circle Ellipse tool, click on that, we'll head to the center of this shape, and I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to hold my finger on Command and Shift again to keep it in proportion, and there, that looks great. I'm going to head to the Fill tool because we don't want any color inside this one. I'm going to turn that off. We're going to head to the Stroke tool, and we're going to make sure it's going to be a white stroke. You can choose the color here, drag it to this corner, or you can head to the Dripper tool, click and drag and choose from your color scheme. And click on the circle, now we have our white. So if we click on this is the stroke options. You can see our width, just keep it at 4, and the dash is 3 and 3 and 0, 0 and phase 0. These boxes relate to the length of the stroke and the length of the gaps. The first two are the most important if you're just making basic shapes. The other two, if you want to get a bit more creative, you can play around with those. And phase is where the stroke starts off, I believe. And you can change that point. Anyway, moving on. We have our stroke. Next thing we're going to want to do, now that we've created these two shapes, is we're going to want to nest the dash stroke. I'm going to name that dash so we know what it is, and bottle cap. I'm going to drag the dash down and to the right to nest that within the bottle cap shape. The next shape we're going to want to make is this ribbon we see down here. We simply grab the rectangle tool and we'll draw the start from the center. You can see the horizontal line is activated. I will drag and click down here. And to make sure it's centered, I'll click back on the Move tool. I'll just drag it. There we go, it's centered. I'm just going to move both of these up a little bit. Okay, so you can see it's used the same settings as the last shape I drew, so we're going to want to change that. So we don't want a stroke on this one, so head up to Stroke and get rid of that. And to fill, we're going to want the same red as in there. And we're going to go over to the color scheme and select that there. So you can see now that's overlapping our other layer, so let's drag it underneath the bottle cap. Now we want to see some difference between these two shapes, so just like the previous design, here you can see there's a shadow that's been applied. Select the bottle cap shape, head down to FX, and select Outer Shadow. Let's drag the radius out a little bit, and we will drag the offset slider out so you can see it's coming out at an angle. I want to make the shadow a little bit softer, so I'm going to drag the radius slider up slightly more. Also, if you wish to change the shadow direction, you can use this angle tool to change it as you wish. I'm going to keep it on 315 degrees. Okay, going back to the rectangle, let's call this ribbon. Now the ribbon has a little cutout in it here. We're going to want to do that to this rectangle. But first, we need to convert it to curves, because right now it's just behaving like a rectangle and we can't change the nodes. If we select the nodes tool, you can see you can't select anything like a node and you can't drag them and manipulate the shape. So we'll head up to convert to curves, click on that, and now you can see our nodes are ready to be manipulated. I'll head down to the center here and I will click and I can drag it up. You can see it's centered by the way we centered the actual rectangle originally. So we can just drag this up and about there. That looks good. So the next thing we want to add is the dash line stroke to this ribbon. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to click on the move tool to select it, and I'm going to press Command J. That's going to make an exact copy of the ribbon we have just made. So you can see in the layers panel there's two ribbons. We're going to want to select the top one. Let's go over to the fill tool and select no fill. Let's go to the stroke tool and select white. Remember, you can drag it down here, or you can drag the dropper tool over to your color scheme and select that. It's white. Let's zoom in closer. It's on the outside right now. I'm just going to do this by eye. I'm going to press Command and Shift, and then I'm going to click on the corner and I'm going to drag it in. Now it's not perfect right now. Maybe it's a little bit wide here. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag this up a little bit more, and that looks good to me. One final thing we must add is let's nest this dash into the ribbon so it's within that shape, and we're going to want to add the drop shadow. So to add exactly the same outer shadow or drop shadow to the ribbon item, select the bottle cap shape, which already has it, and then press Command and click on ribbon. Then head down to effects, and from effects you'll see outer shadow. Just click off of it and click back on, and it will apply exactly the same amounts here to both shapes. And last but not least is the sail. Let's go ahead and select the artistic text tool. I'll just click down here and I'll just type in sail. There it is. And right now it's on Arial font. I want to use Helvetica. New. Click on the move tool and move it back up to the center of the image. Let's make this slightly bigger, shall we? Center it again. There we go, we're in the center. Now let's nest this sail into the bottle cap shape, so it's nested in there. And let's just check the dash stroke to make sure we can scale with object. It's not selected, so let's press that in case we want to make some changes later. And let's just check the other dash as well. Scale with object. Now select both of them. You've selected that one and Command click. That's both of them selected, and press Command G to group them together. To make sure your strokes, or in this case the stroke dashes, are behaving themselves when you're rescaling and staying the same size, whether you scale down or up according to the rest of the design is to select your shapes. So you can select the dash here, and this is our other one that we created in the ribbon. So I'll select that, and then I'll press Command and click on ribbon. Then we just head up here to scale with object to make sure they're both selected. If they're both not selected, you can see how it will behave. They're both big. And let's press scale with object on both of them now. Oh, we have to select them again. Scale with object. And let's rescale it now, and you can see they're behaving the way we want them to. And here's your sale discount vector icon. Let's move on to the next. Okay, the discount icon. One you've probably seen before on websites and in shop windows. It's got a kind of Christmassy feel to this one, and it has the same style as our previous design with the dashed stroke, the same color scheme as before. As you can see, I've still got it up here and it will remain there throughout. Just looking at it, okay, we've got a long rectangle, a couple of dash strokes. We have a shape here, which is another rectangle with a cut-in piece for it's a ribbon style. And we have another triangle here, and that's just repeated on this side. Let's go ahead and recreate this. First thing you're going to want to do is grab the rectangle tool, just click and drag. I think that will do. Head to the move tool and let's just drag it into the center of our document to help with alignment. Okay, so first off, the color is not the color I want. Let's refer to the color scheme. Head on up to fill and drag the dropper tool, click and drag, and there's the white. This is the red we want. This has changed. Click on it. We have the right color. Next thing we want is to add the discount word and the dashed stroke. Again, head on over to the pen tool and let's just select line mode. Line mode allows you to create just a line with no curves in it, and if you decide to create another line, you can do it like this. And this helps just so that you don't create any curvature in your line. I'm going to drag it from here. I'm going to hold down the shift so I can get a nice straight line, and I'm going to let go. There we go, one is done. Head on up to the stroke options and click on dashed line style. As you can see from the previous design we've made, the settings are still the same, so we're going to keep them as this 3300. That's fine. Head back to the move tool. We're going to duplicate this, so Command J, that's duplicated it as you can see here, and you're going to drag this down. To ensure both of these are centered, I will select both of them and I will click up and I will drag until it's to the center. You can see it's there in the crosshairs, it's centered now. Let's add the discount word in here. Head on over to the artistic text tool, click on that and click anywhere you want in here, and let's write discount. That size seems fine to me, so I'm going to just click and drag to the center, and I'm happy with that. Let's see what's next. Okay, so it's the ribbon at the side, it's a slightly different color, and it has dashes in it. Let's make that. You can see all of our layers here. There's the word, there's the two dashes that we made previously, and here's the rectangle. I'm going to copy this rectangle to use for the side of the ribbon, which is also a rectangle. So Command J, that's duplicated it, as you can see here. Just going to drag it across to the side a little bit, and there, that looks about right. Okay, so before we do anything else, we're going to select all the things we previously made and we're going to nest it in our long rectangle. So I'm going to click and drag down and right. To make it easier, you can always name them. That will just be our main shape. If you ever want to nest it in lots of objects and you can't remember which one it is, it's better to name them beforehand. So now that we have our shape, let's create the cutout which is in the side of the shape, just like here. Select the node tool, and you can see we can't do anything with the nodes because we have to press convert to curves. Now it's changed it and it's ready to be manipulated. So I'm going to click on the side here and I'm going to drag to the middle. We can see it centered. About that will do, I think. Okay, we can see it's still the same color, so let's change that. Head on up to the fill tool and let's go up to our color scheme. Grab the dropper tool, and it's this slightly darker one here. Release and click, and you can see it's changed color. The next thing we're going to want to do is add the dash strokes. So I'm going to use the ones we created previously. I'll drag these up to the top, as these are the ones I showed you at the very beginning, the ones I made earlier. So these are the ones we're working with. So select that shape. Here's our two curves under here. These are actually our dashed curves. As you can see, they're selected now. I'm going to press Command J to duplicate them. I'm going to drag them out of this nested shape. And here they are. I'm going to want to nest them in this shape. So first of all, I'm going to drag the move tool and I'm going to click, keep my finger on shift and drag along to the right hand side. Now I want to nest them within our new shape. So I'm going to click it and drag it up and to the right a little bit. There, they're nested in there now. So I'm going to click and drag it right. Let go and click and drag it down. I think about here works. We can always play around with that afterwards. Okay, I'm going to place this shape behind our main shape. Now you can see the color difference. Okay, let's copy this. Command J to duplicate, and we're going to want to flip this the other way around and stick it on the other side. So head on up to the flip horizontal tool, click on that. You can see it's flipped it around. I'm just going to click and drag it over to this side. That looks about right. Just to make sure I align both of these correctly, I'm just going to click, I'm on the move tool at the moment, I'm going to click and drag from the side a ruler. I'm going to try and click and drag this into the center of the document. Now I'll select both of our ribbons from the side. I'm going to click and drag it there. Now we know they're both evenly spaced. Okay, so there's one triangle here which we have to create where the ribbon kind of goes behind, bends behind and out. We're going to create this right now. I'll zoom into where we're going to create it first. I'm going to click on the pen tool. I'm going to make sure my line isn't selected from our previous selection. I'm just going to stick it back on the pen mode. First, I'm going to appoint a node here, head on over, click another one. I'm going to follow the lines along. As snapping is enabled, it's making it easy for me. There. Okay, let's get rid of these dashes. And let's choose our fill. It's a different color, so let's go up to our color scheme. This is the one we want. Click and drag, release, click on that, and it would have changed the color. There it is, that's the color we want. So the last thing we want to do is duplicate this and add it on the other side. Command J to duplicate, flip it around, zoom out so we can see where we're at. I'm going to click and drag with my finger on shift. and there. Everything's lining up just right. If you want to get rid of this, you just drag it off to the side and it's gone. And there we have it. Our discount sale 2D flat vector icon. Let's move on. Here are some other design shapes you can use for your sale stickers or icons. Let's take a closer look. Looking at this design, you can see that we've created all of these shapes in the previous tutorials. We have our rectangle with the cutout. We have our rectangle with the dashed stroke and text. And we just have a rectangle behind, and all using the color scheme that we were abiding by. Let me take this away for a closer look. This shape started out as a rectangle. The only difference here is I have used the move tool and I have gone to the node on the right hand side and I've hovered nearby. You'll see two arrows facing upwards and downwards. If we click and drag up and down, you can see we can shear upwards and downwards. This design started as a rectangle, and we simply used the corner tool to select the bottom two nodes, and we clicked on one of the nodes and dragged in all the way until it was a full semicircle at the bottom. After that, we pressed bake corners in case we want to rescale, and we simply added in the text and the dashed line, which I've shown you on the previous tutorials. To create this shape, we used the rectangle tool. We clicked and dragged down whilst holding the shift key to keep it a perfect square. And we used the corner tool and we selected these three nodes here. If we click and click shift and click whilst holding shift again, all three nodes are selected. Now I will click and drag until it's a perfect circle again. This is how we created this shape. To create this shape, again, we're going to use the rectangle tool. And we're going to click and drag out to here. The next thing you want to do is choose the ellipse tool. Draw a circle whilst holding Command and Shift to keep it perfect circle. Click on the move tool and move it down. Let's line it up with this rectangle. Now we're going to copy and paste this circle onto all four corners. So I'm going to press Command J to duplicate this circle, and I'm going to move it across, holding my finger down on the Shift key to line it up with the other side. Now I'm going to select both of these circles. I'm going to press Command J to duplicate, and I'm going to hold down Shift and click and drag to the bottom two corners. Now select all of the shapes we've just created, ensuring that the circles are above the rectangle on the layers panel. Head on up to the subtract button and we're going to select that, and you can see the circles have been cut out of the rectangle and it's created this shape. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please press like, subscribe and hit the notification bell on the bottom to stay informed of the latest tutorials I'll be making and other design videos. And if you'd like this design pack to download completely free, there's a link in the description which heads to my website where you can download all of these, the actual design file, so you can keep the vectors and change the colors and do whatever you want with them. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one.